Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. In tonight's show, we take a look at the big stories affecting our region. Estuary TV's news editor Emma Lingard joins me in the studio. But first, here's James Dunn with the news headlines.
Hello. In the headlines today, ambulance staff serving Hull and East Riding go on strike, and Sony Pictures set a release date for Sacha Baron Cohen's new movie Grimsby. Yorkshire ambulance staff will strike today because of plans to introduce new shift patterns that could see staff work 10 hours without a break. 375 members of Unite the Union walked out between 3 and 8 p.m. on Friday and do the same again today because of an ongoing dispute with the Trust. Membership represents only 7% of the workforce, but the Trust has urged people to use services wisely and only call for an ambulance if an illness or injury is life-threatening or serious. The union has called for an independent inquiry over the Trust plans to make £46 million worth of cuts over 5 years and the impact that this will have on patient care. They also accused the Trust of breathtaking hypocrisy after it emerged earlier this month that top-level staff had been given BMWs and Mercedes as company cars. A Hull MP has criticised the government for only acting to protect homes against floods when they hit the south, 2 months after the tidal surge hit homes in East Yorkshire and northern Lincolnshire. Earlier this week, David Cameron announced £5,000 worth of grants to protect British homes and businesses from the floods that have devastated the country this week. But MP for Hull, Diana Johnson, has asked the Lib Dem Floods Minister why the government has waited until now, 2 months after this area was hit by the tidal surge. She claimed that the government has failed to act until water flooded the fields of Eton, the elite public school attended by the Prime Minister and many of his cabinet members. North East Lincolnshire Council staff have moved back into the municipal offices in Grimsby this month after a £1.5 million refurbishment. The majority of staff relocated to civic offices in Cleethorpes while the work took place as part of the Agile Working project, aimed at saving £1 million a year in running costs. The project aims to halve the amount of space occupied by the council and will eventually reduce the number of buildings it occupies from 20 at the start to just 2. Council staff will vacate properties on Queen Street, St James Square and the pupil referral unit at Western School site in the next stage of the project. The Army is trying to recruit people to join the Army Reserves as it tries to increase their numbers to make up for a shortfall caused by cuts to the regulars. There were 102,000 soldiers before the government's defence review in 2010, but it plans to reduce this to just 82,000 by 2017. The Defence Secretary plans to increase the number of Army reservists from around 19,000 to 30,000 and says they'll play an increasingly important role. Sergeant Oposky from Grimsby's recruitment office says it can provide some unique opportunities to medically fit people who want to take them.
Other than the fact that you're going to get paid to train, there's the opportunity for travel, to meet new people, to become a part of a team, and at the end of the day, the Army Reserve has always been an opportunity to work with the regular Army, so these opportunities again come to the forefront of operations that are happening around the world.
To find out more, head to the recruitment day at Scunthorpe's base on Cottage Beck Road on April the 1st. Today is the final day that you could save money on your energy bills by signing up to various collective switching schemes becoming increasingly popular in Lincolnshire. 320 people took part in the North Lincolnshire scheme last year and participants saved an average of £120 on their annual bills. An intermediary negotiates a cheaper price once people sign up, although those involved are under no obligation to accept. Today is the deadline to sign up for schemes in Lincolnshire and North Lincolnshire, and a scheme in North East Lincolnshire wants people to opt in by April. To find out if there's one near you, get in touch with your local council. Work on a £22 million transport plan in Beverley can now continue after archaeological work has been completed. Notable finds from the excavation are now being analysed, so further progress on the Beverley Southern Relief Road can now continue. It's one of the largest capital projects ever undertaken by East Riding Council and will include amendments to the Grove Hill Junction, Swinemore Roundabout and Flemingate Level Crossing. And finally, sources in Hollywood have reported that Sacha Baron Cohen's new movie Grimsby will be released on July the 31st next year. Sony announced the date after buying the rights to make the film from Cohen studio Paramount. It will be directed by Clash of the Titans director Louis Leterrier. It's about a British spy who is forced to go on the run with his football hooligan brother. The Borat star was spotted researching the role at a Grimsby Town match at Blundell Park last year. That's all from me today. I'll see you for the next bulletin.
My guest for this week's paper review is our very own Emma Lingard. Emma has worked as a journalist for over 20 years in papers, radio and television, and is the news editor here at Estuary. So Emma, what stories do you have today?
Feels really weird being on this side of the seat.
It feels weird sitting with you as well. It's like the first time.
Well, of course, most people know that alongside doing the news, I obviously do a programme called Lingard's Lincolnshire Rambles, and we're currently starting to go into production for a new series of that. So one of the stories that caught my eye, of course, is historical. And it was in the Market Raisin Mail, and it was all about the Australian composer Percy Grainger, who most people, if you're into your music, then you'll know that he was very much interested in English folk music, and he did an extensive travel in England. And of course, he came to Brig in the early 1900s. And the reason the article caught my attention was because in the new series, we actually go to Brig and we look at Percy Grainger and Joseph Taylor, who was one of the folk singers that he had an interest in when he came to the town in the 1900s. So, of course, this story caught my eye. Which is a document which actually documented Percy's travels in the Brig area, which has gone missing. It was his theses, which was all his recordings of what he heard, and the folk song Brig Fair, which was, of course, one of the famous ones sung at the town's music festival. And a copy of the thesis, because the original is in Melbourne University, was actually at North Lincolnshire Council Library Services. And Tom Glossop, who's the chairman of the North Lincolnshire Music and Drama Festival Society, has obviously gone looking for this document, and it's been misplaced. So they've actually had to contact Melbourne University to try and find a replacement. So that was interesting, because obviously, I suppose, things like that, I think historical documents are important to chart the history of things that have happened. And there were only 2 volumes produced on Percy Grainger's travels. And sadly, the one that lists all the Brig travelling and the music that he heard while he was here has disappeared. So hopefully Melbourne University there will be able to get a copy.
And is that
Brig.
possible then? Do you think they will be able to get a copy of it?
It sounds like it. From what I can see from the article, inquiries have been made for a replacement copy to replace the one, but I suppose that the argument is, where is the copy they already had? It seems to have been mislaid. Hopefully it'll turn up, then they'll have 2 copies of this document. So that was of interest to me, purely because Brig it will feature, and I say we do look at Percy Grainger and the music.
Because he was
happened.
a big figure, wasn't he, as well?
He was, and he was very much interested in the folk songs. And through what I found, a lot of the songs were obviously not written, they were passed down. People heard a song being sung and they either recreated it with their own lyrics, to add a local feel to it. So when he came along and he made these physical recordings of people singing, that was the first time really that had been documented, because as I say, prior to then, you'd just be singing in the fields. And it's just one of those interesting things, because there are so, I think, many folk songs and historical things like that have probably been lost, over the years. So fingers crossed, Melbourne can help them out, and they can get that replaced to them. Okay. You want my next story now?
Yes.
Traffic delays. You know this, Erica, coming in from the other side of the river. I could have done a whole accent then, but she'll hit me. Delays on the A180. Have you been caught up in A180 delays at all?
I haven't, to be honest. That kind of isn't on my route, but I know that there is quite a lot of...
There is. I mean, it's not on my route. I must have to say, I don't come in on the motorway, but I do get caught up in it because people coming off the motorway to obviously avoid those those delays going into Grimsby and coming through where I live, I get caught up in them. If I mistime it in the morning, I end up being delayed as well. That is obviously causing a lot of trouble. There's a picture there in the Grimsby Telegraph of the tailbacks on the A18, and they're not pleasant. I think when you're travelling and then you end up, you know, being sat in a car for a while, or even, you know, you think, oh, I've got to set up earlier than what you anticipated.
That's the thing, isn't it? You do have to really consider it and set off a lot earlier, and it's a bit annoying, isn't it?
You
really?
do, because I suppose, it's nice to have those little extra moments, isn't it? Before you get to
every
work.
minute counts when you're in bed.
So, of course, these delays on the A180, which I believe, for another week, are because of the 50-mile-per-hour signs that are being installed between Pie Wipe and Lock Hill roundabout on obviously the entrance into the town. So obviously one lane is closed while that work is undertaken. Now I know, again, for a lot of people that's another controversial thing. 50-mile-per-hour signs when it's a dual carriageway, obviously national speed limit, but the council have agreed that this is going to be one of these, you know, specially designated areas, all done to improve safety on that particular stretch of road, because what they say is that as people are approaching that roundabout at speed, accidents are happening.
Right.
And now I don't know what the statistics are, but I don't know. I just think as a motorist, sometimes is slowing the traffic down just going to cause people more accidents to be committed, because you know that people are slowing down, they're driving slower so as to avoid, you know, getting caught. I mean, on the Peaks Parkway caused so much trouble with the average speed cameras, and I know this is all part of a review in March which is going to look at these average speed cameras, because so many people have complained about them. So I don't know, it's just one of those, isn't it, that you get caught up in. I know driving around town at the moment in Grimsby, where we've got a lot of extensive roadworks around the town centre with the pavements that are being done. You just think you're just trying to avoid large areas of the town, which is difficult when you're out news gathering. Can't avoid these areas. But I can understand motorists' frustrations, completely definitely understand them, because I know I've been cut up on numerous roundabouts while this has been going on, because people are obviously not wanting to stay in traffic queues. And I think that ends up causing more accidents.
Yeah.
So that was that one. And then obviously the other big thing, we've heard a lot lately about job losses in the region. So another story in which is a bit of feel-good news really is obviously, of course, this one about Tesco coming to Immingham.
I mean, that's fantastic, isn't it, for the town and to have the opportunity to provide all those jobs as well.
And it is, and I think especially so for the people of Immingham, because I think this has been on the cards for probably the last 10 to 15 years that they were going to get a Tesco. I mean, I know they do have other shops there, but at long last, they're going to get this new £10 million Tesco store. It's going to bring 200 jobs again
and I know they were saying about it'll kind of regenerate the centre where it's going to be, and
it is,
because just about the jobs, is it, I suppose?
I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Immingham at all, but obviously Kennedy Way Shopping Centre, which bizarre, I didn't know, another history fact here, it was actually named in honour of President Kennedy, which I didn't know that. I assume, Kennedy, but I thought maybe it was a local councillor. I think that over the years has obviously got run down. I mean, talking to people a few weeks ago, actually, they can remember it when it was in its prime. And Immingham was always quite a bustly town with lots of shops. I think over the years, things have just, as in most places, just got run down. They've closed up, and nobody likes to see boarded up properties.
No, but Emma will have to leave it there, but thank you.
It's all right.
Don't forget, if you have any stories, problems or views that you want to share with us, you can get in touch by phone on Grimsby 315561, on Facebook or Twitter at Estuary TV, or email us. Until next time, goodbye.